Hi, Carl Good here. What makes this group special is the fact that it's made up of a lot of different people who all bring a different skill to the table. They are all capable of different kinds of thinking based on experiences they've all had. The groups you're going to be working with are all made up of the same sort of individuals. You're all from different places with different experiences and different ideas, as well as you have different superpowers, different strengths. Some of you are great analytical thinkers. Some of you may define yourselves as creative types who can think up lots of different ideas. So what you need to do is value the skills that you bring to the table and really appreciate that you are a strong contributor to this group. And so what I'm going to talk about here are sort of the kind of group dynamics that can derail great creative thinking, as well as so enemies to creative thinking and individuals within a group who can also harm that group dynamic. So let's get started. Right away, we have 6 rules to follow when brainstorming with your group. And what do I mean by rules? You need to follow these rules. It's a way of showing respect and also of making sure you come up with rules that, I mean, ideas that are pure and shared and from all of you. So the number one is, of course, all ideas are welcome. Just take it all in. That's what you're going to be doing in the general brainstorming. Certainly when you're doing this alone too, by the way, all of what we're saying here, well, not all of it, because some of it does pertain specifically to a group, but think about all of these things when you're thinking with your own brain. In your own brain, all ideas are welcome, and think that way. Certainly in the divergent part of a brainstorming session. So all ideas are welcome. No negativity. This is not the time to be judgmental and negative about ideas. Just bring them all in. And when you're thinking about how to respond to an idea, don't use any but statements. And what I mean by but statements is, that's a great idea, but the reason it won't work is this. Don't do that just yet. When you're ideating, basically throwing ideas out there, what you want to be thinking about is not but it won't work, is ask how can we make this work? What can we do to this idea? What can we add to this idea? This is cool. How can we expand on this idea? Don't ever say but, because that's a putting a wall in front of an idea that might have solved the problem. Which also basically is another way of don't shoot down ideas. And certainly individually, don't censor yourself. You might be sitting there with the greatest idea that anyone has ever thought of to solve this problem, and you maybe aren't going to say it because you're worried that someone might laugh at you or think it's a dumb idea, or you've already decided that this won't work. But sometimes you have no clue how this idea might be applied to the particular problem, but you can maybe someone else in the group it'll spark an idea in their head, and that's where the value comes in. I think I said 6, but there were only 5, so onward. So here we're going to talk about 10 enemies to creative brainstorming, and I don't mean individuals here. What I mean are behaviors. So don't try to find the right answer when you're in the divergent phase of brainstorming. What you want to do is just come up with unique, crazy, wonderful, wacky, out of the box ideas that are, what you want to do is be so shocking with your ideas that even you are giggling at sort of the absurdity of them. Don't try to think logically. This is one time where all of you left brainers have to put away your slide rules and sort of be creative. This is the whole point here. You want to just be out there. If someone weren't watching you, how out there would you be? Be that person. Don't follow any rules. Rules for brainstorming, yes, be respectful, accept all ideas. But there's no rule book for how to brainstorm effectively. All there are ideas, and all there are techniques for brainstorming and coming up with different and new ideas. And those are the kinds of that's the way you have to look at this. Not as there's no rule book for doing this. It's just what you're trying to do here is to spark your brain to think non-traditionally. Don't be practical. We've all received socks for Christmas. You know, Let's not do that here. Don't just say, well, that's not sensible. I don't think that idea will work because it'll make somebody mad or it'll inconvenience somebody else. Don't even worry about those kinds of issues. That'll come later in the convergent phase of your brainstorming session. What we're all talking about here is the divergent. We're going to just coming up with lots and lots of ideas to throw at a problem and then have ultimately whittled them down to be more practical later in the convergent phase of your brainstorming. Play is not work. Think about this with yourself too. Play is work. Play gets things done. When you're building something with paper or popsicle sticks or playing acting out games like you know actually becoming characters in a situation that if you're going to be parking, like, hey, I'm talking to the parking god and somebody else is the parking god. Act out. Enjoy yourself. Brainstorming should be fun and wacky and playful, and don't think this is not work, especially when you're in the workplace. That's not my job. There are a lot of people. Remember the team that's made up of a lot of different people. One of the great things about working in a company, and I've worked in a lot of them, is that with a lot of different people, I've sat in cubicles, and is that you work in your department. Your department does what it does. It does its thing. Well, down the hallway is another department, and they do something completely different. Maybe you don't even quite know what that is. It's always a good idea to walk down the hall, walk in, and talk to somebody in there, because when you combine what they do with what you do, you may find solutions that'll just blow your company away. Ideas that will, for new products or new services or whatever it is, or for solving problems that no one else had ever thought of. So get out of your desk and go find someone else who doesn't do your job and talk to them. Don't be so serious. We all know these people, these very serious people. Even if you're the serious person in the group, if you're the serious person who has to come up with a lot of ideas, get over yourself. Try to connect back to the time when you were a kindergartner, or when or try to actually remember times when you weren't serious. What was happening at that time? Go back to that and try to be unserious. Try to be fun, be crazy. I know you're getting the idea. What is ambiguity? Ambiguity means black and white. It's either this way or it's that way. The thing about creative thinking and coming up with ideas is that there are a lot of different grays in between, nuances, and that's where, in those gray areas, is where you find things that can combine and connect that no one had ever thought of. So don't be so black and white about things like this will work and this won't. Don't be that way. And the idea of being wrong is bad. Don't think that way, because remember what we talked about with failure is that failure is only a step toward a solution. It's learning something that isn't going to work so that you can get back on track to what will work. So in brainstorming, there is no wrong answer. It's all just ideas, and all ideas are good and pure. Lastly, I'm not creative. Don't say that about yourself. Just stop saying it. Everyone can contribute, certainly, to the creative process in some way. They can be analytical. They can be creative in the sense that, like, an idea generator. They can be people who define questions and are really good at the research part, or even implementation. That's all part of the creative process. And anyone can think of ideas if they just sort of use some of the techniques that I've outlined in this assignment and on the page to sort of jar their brain and to get their brain to stop thinking in traditional patterns. You're just getting in the way of yourself. There are a lot of great ideas locked in there. You just have to figure out how to find them. Okay, now lastly, we're going to just talk about those individuals in your group. Are you one of these people? You don't want to be one of these people. Certainly, however you behave in a group dynamic here in the university is going to, I'm sorry to say, but it's probably going to translate to how you behave in a company and with other people. The it's not my job kind of thing. So let's see if you are this way. Here, well, let's just go. Lazy. Can we hurry this up? The Red Wings are playing. That's a creativity killer right there. Everybody feels the pressure. You're getting you're creating tension. Don't be that person, okay? Allow time and just turn everything off around you and focus on the problem at hand. people will love you much more for it. And I promise you, so will your job. Are you shy? I wrote get over yourself, and that's not very nice. But really, what I really should say here is try to find a way that you can get, if you are shy or you define yourself as shy, try to find a way to get that idea out so that others can hear it. Maybe you write them in a document that you can all see. Somehow you need to share the wonderful insight that we all know is in that wonderful, that terrific brain of yours. Just get it. Just has to be gotten out. If you don't feel comfortable in a group to say it, just say, "Can I email you some ideas I have?" Everyone wants to know them because you may have in the shy head of yours the very answer everyone's been looking for. Are you a bully? In a previous class, we had some students who, in a group, who were all friends, and they were all girls. There were two other girls in the group who didn't know these other three girls, and the two girls came to me upset and angry because the other three girls had not responded to any of their emails saying, "Hey, when are we meeting?" And the only email the other two girls got were from the three friends who said, "You two don't need to do anything. We've already done it all. All you have to do is just ride with us." And they were so offended and so insulted at the disrespect and that their ideas didn't matter and that they were being forced to do what these other girls wanted. And I called them mean girls. They were the mean girls, if you've all seen that movie. But now, how you respond to those girls or boys, how you respond to someone who's kind of being a little type A pushy in a group is going to really, you can't crumble at this. You can't be afraid to say, that's an interesting idea, but we're going to discuss about it. We're going to discuss it, and let's all share what we think about that bully or type A personality's idea. You don't have to just automatically do it because they're the loud, angry ones. All right, just try to not be so afraid. All right, and which brings to mind this, oh my God, they hated my idea, crumbling because you feel rejected. In the world out there, I've worked in a creative environment for I worked in a creative environment in New York for almost 30 years, and let me tell you, when you create something, make something, build something, design something, and you show it to people, and it doesn't go over well, they say you have to have a thick skin in the world, and let me tell you, no one I ever met had a thick skin. If they did, they had a psychological problem generally accompanying that. Like they were weird, like they were clueless. Everyone is crushed by criticism and when an idea doesn't go over really well. And what you need to do is just be sensitive and be feel a little wounded if that's the way you feel, but then move on. Don't take it as a criticism of who you are as a person. It's just the idea people are commenting on. If anybody is shallow enough to actually say you're a jerk, you can't you do anything right, you don't want to be working for those people. And lastly, there may be a multitasker, quote, self-defined multitasker. I can get it all done. I'm amazing. Look at me. I'm busy. They're the ones who are always talking about how busy they are, and they show up late to calls, out of breath. Everyone's busy. So, dude, get over yourself. Really, everyone is busy, not just you, and you can't do it all. So, what you need to do is, as I said before, focus and set aside some time to really devote to solving this problem and to being a great contributing member of your group with you there 100%. All right? So, everybody, that's it. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see what you come up with.